This win 38-19. Now the questions are this: is this the end for Kiffin at Ole Miss? This year's team has 11 wins. That is tied with the 2023 team for the most in school history. That team, by the way, also coached by Kiffin, and add to it, 3 of the 4 highest scoring seasons in Rebels history have also come in this Kiffin era. But again, the question, is this the end? Here's Taylor McGrath.
Yeah, I think, I understand you guys' job. I think things are fair. Like I say, when questions come, those are fair questions. Maybe I can answer them. Maybe I don't see them the same. But when you call someone a hoe, that's a different level of stuff. You can't make hoes into housewives, or something like that. But that's about as Bush League stealing Trinidad's jersey like Mississippi State did last night. We got another one. So I ain't got any respect for that.
I don't need it without that comment. I'm going to change your comments about what I actually want to propose stuff. And that's what the question is. I think that's more
I'm not playing on either game, but I actually don't even. There's a lot in it. These are hard decisions. You guys have them all the time. You got to make decisions about, jobs you take and where you move and all those things. And again, we get paid a lot, so understands ours is, under a different spotlight and scrutiny. But, a lot of people that are critical of it are the same people that they do it all the time. They make decisions and, they got to figure out the best things to do. In other professions, it's a little easier because you get to go to places and, they bring you there and you go for a weekend, you see all the schools and neighborhoods and all the stuff, and then you make the decision. Our jobs are difficult that way, but I'm not complaining about it.
All right, not that the world needs another podcast, but we could literally do an entire podcast on all things Lane Kiffin just from this game and this day, right?
Like, first of all, I don't care if you don't know his name. Answer the question.
Correct.
Because that's his job. And I'm glad, though, that he admitted, yes, we make money.
Yes.
Because that's first world problems. That is like the world's smallest violin.
Right.
Maybe we'll find out tomorrow. Maybe we won't.
Supposed to happen Saturday, but it's Lane Kiffin, so we don't know. It could be anything.
Make market the most regular season win in school history. Now, Ocho, it's time. Lane Kiffin's going to make a decision. He's set to make this decision tomorrow about his future. He'll announce whether he'll go to LSU or stay at Oxford. Kiffin said after the game, I've got a lot of praying to do to figure that out. Right now, I'm going to enjoy these players. I told them last night, you're going to win your 11th game, and all I want to do is experience, enjoy watching you. Kiffin wasn't sure what time he'd make that decision on Saturday. There's a lot that goes into it. It's a hard decision. You guys have all the time. You got to make decisions about jobs you got to take, or when you move, or when we get paid a lot. So I understand you're under a lot of spotlight and scrutiny. Kiffin said he regretted not being able to speak to his father, Monty Kiffin, legendary defensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, while trying to make one of the most important decisions of his career. A longtime NFL defensive coordinator died in July of 24 at the age of 84. But he said before he makes this decision, he'll talk to 2 people that are very important in his life. That is Pete Carroll and Nick Saban.
Yeah, what the funny thing about it too, when it comes to decisions like this, before it even came out to the public, they know what's going on privately. They have those conversations. What's going to happen. What's on the table. So I think, to me, honestly, you have to do things the right way publicly. But I think the decisions have already been made. The conversations have already been had. Especially something this magnitude, that's this important. I think you already know what you're going to do. You have to do things the right way publicly. And there's protocol, as I like to call it,
Ocho,
the way you have to do things.
When you got family members, big foxy family members, your wife in LSU in Baton Rouge, or they spot other people in Florida, they know you looking. Yeah. How you juxtapose that?
Exactly.
Nah, she was just, bro, you live in Ole Miss. Why you looking for us? Ain't nobody getting no second home in Baton Rouge.
Exactly.
You get the second home, it's gonna be on the beach some damn way.
Right.
You going to Destin, or you you going to get a place off Lake Burton.
Exactly. And so that's why all that, when you come out and say, oh, it's tough now, like, come on now. The decision has already been made. We know that. We know that based on all the events that have occurred with family being seen in the booth. But that's neither here nor there. Congratulations.
Well, you know, they're house shopping. I mean, you get a lot of house and you get a lot of house. I mean, you get a lot of house in Baton Rouge, making $14 million a year. You get a real nice house. They probably gonna give him access. Probably get 30 hours on a private jet. They'll probably put a life and get a life insurance policy, medical benefits for he and his wife.
Right.
They got a house. They're not gonna pay for it. Probably get 2 cars. I'm just saying all the perks. You know, I'm saying I talk to coaches and those are some of the perks that they get.
Hold on, and the fact that you know all this, and every time I bring up the fact that there's a chance that you and I, look, could you imagine you being the head coach somewhere, and me being your assistant coach?
No, I can't imagine that. Listen.
How can you not? Did you just talk about all the perks that you can get as a head coach? Imagine us working our way up the ladder. We started at HBCUs, going from HBCU, going to a PWI, going from PWI. Hell, you might even be the coach of the Denver Broncos one day.
Ocho, with the way these kids are and this administration, the only perk I'm gonna be getting is Percocet, because I'll be ready to. I'm good. Nah, I'm good. I don't want no part of that, Ocho. I like this, man. That's what I like to do. This is my love.
Yeah, I love it too.
I love doing this. I love doing nightcap. I love doing club session. But T-Pain on there, man. T-Pain was amazing. Yeah, T-Pain. Man, we got T-Pain. T-Pain said, man, I wonder what we could, if you guys would be willing to do this. So they pitched it to me and said, man, he want to be on the lawnmower. I say, what? I say, doing what? They said, nah, he just want to do the interview on the lawnmower. So we on zero turn lawnmowers. I do an interview with T-Pain on the zero turn lawnmower. He wanted to be like country. So can you wear jeans? Could you wear boots?
Right.
And if you got a vest, I ain't got no vest. So that Louis Vuitton vest that I had on,
right?
T-Pain gave me that. I don't know. I think it cost a lot of money. But I was like, because I took it off, I was going to give it back to him. He said, nah, you keep it. I said, I sure appreciate it. And I'm going to wear it again. So everybody look and say, man, didn't you have that on in the T-Pain interview? You damn right. And I'm going to have it on again at somebody's restaurant or wherever else I go. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I might have it on the Laker game. And.
Okay, let me know when we going.
Huh? So, yeah, look, I mean, obviously, Ocho, Ole Miss gave him an opportunity. He's done an amazing job.
Absolutely.
I mean, there are reports that said Ole Miss will match, but I think look, you should have did that before LSU came into the equation.
Right. But you know what? They wouldn't have been able to match if they didn't know what the numbers were LSU was offering.
Hey, you go to them, you see what Georgia did to Kirby Smart.
Yeah. Give him something he can't. Hey.
Kirby Smart signed the deal, had a 10-year deal. They said, you know what, Kirby, we're going to tear that deal up. We're going to make you the highest paid. You're making $10 million now, we're going to make you $13.5 million. Woo! 10 years. Kirby got a $118 million buyout.
God, a what?
118.
Well, you know what the funny thing about it is about Georgia? They always gonna get kids. They will never be in a position where things are going bad like it did for Brian Kelly at LSU. He'll never be.
Brian Kelly didn't give a flip. Ocho. He doesn't know how to like the SEC. Kirby played in the SEC.
Right.
He coached in the SEC. He understands.
Right.
He understands that. Look at the guys that he's put in the NFL.
Yeah.
How many? DeAndre Swift, Nick Chubb. How many are on the Eagles roster? Kobe Dean, Jordan, the edge rusher, Jalen Carter.
Yeah.
I think Kaylee Ringo is there.
Yeah.
Look how many guys they got from the University of Georgia. So it's just like Coach Saban. What position you play? Running back. Look at all the running backs I got in the NFL.
A lot of them.
Look at all the wide receivers I got in the NFL. Offensive line. Look at all the offensive linemen I got in the NFL. D-line. Look at all the D-linemen I got in the NFL. Look at all the DB. Quarterback.
Yeah.
So it's easy for Kirby to go sit there and just like I don't know. I never thought Brian Kelly was the right fit for LSU.
Right.
He keeps jumping. He was at Cincinnati, and he left Cincinnati high and dry, and he goes to Notre Dame. He leaves Notre Dame high and dry. Notre Dame, like, you know what? Marcus Freeman. Oh, yeah. George Pickens went to Georgia.
Big.
The running back from Buffalo. Cook. James Cook.
Wait. That's right. James Cook was there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious why James ain't follow Dalvin to go to Florida State. I wonder why.
Sometimes, Ocho, they want to make a name for themselves because you know there's going to be the comparison.
Yeah.
Same reason Eli ain't go to Tennessee. Let me go to where my dad went 40 years ago. Right. Y'all will remember that. It's tough. I mean, when your brother's that.
Oh, yeah. And he was that, too.
Yeah. All right, it's time for our final segment of the evening. It's time for Q.
Welch and Tom Fornelli. I'm Tommy Tran. Guys, there's a lot to unpack when it comes to the Rebels, but let's first talk the game itself. Tom, I'll give you first word. Again, odds makers only had this at 7.5. Part of it was the rivalry. Part of it was projected distraction. What impressed you the most about the performance today from the Rebels?
Just how, explosive they were on offense and how explosive they've been on offense all season long. Trinidad Chambliss with a fantastic game. You mentioned the numbers, 359 yards, 4 touchdowns, a couple of beautiful touchdown passes. Quan Lacey, who has been one of the better running backs in the country, who I don't think gets a ton of pub, going for 143 yards and a score. Like you mentioned, there are a lot of potential distractions facing this Ole Miss team. Then you toss on just the emotions of a rivalry game like this for any team at the end of the season, and then everything that's still on the line for this Ole Miss team to where they have a chance to get to the college football playoff. So for them to come out and be as clean and efficient in this game, although, there were some fisticuffs and some shenanigans going on during the sidelines, but we come to expect that during every single Egg Bowl. It wouldn't be an Egg Bowl without it. But still, all in all, I just thought it was a very impressive performance by the Rebels, and it just goes to show why this team has been so successful all season long. They're a very good football team.
Yeah, things did get a little spicy there in that game in Starkville. Bean, let me ask you a bit of a different question because you've been on some good teams, you've played in some rivalry games. Just because you win doesn't mean there weren't distractions. Sometimes I feel like if you won, there wasn't a distraction, and if you lose, you were distracted. Clearly, I think there are some outside noises here, but how do you really try to focus that in? End of season, a lot on the line against your rival.
Every season there's going to be certain distractions. Now, whether they're large or not, is all relative. But nonetheless, you're going to have to deal with that. And I think the good teams figure out ways to compartmentalize and drown out the noise from the outside. I mean, I think understanding the magnitude of the moment, if you're the Rebels and where you're going with the season, and the opportunities that you guys have ahead, I think that makes it easier. Keeping focus on the task at hand, and that's get an opportunity to win a conference championship, heck, to be in a conference championship, something that Ole Miss hasn't done in the college football playoff. So most certainly, I think it's an easier task for them, even considering all the noise that they're dealing with their head coach.
And that's the fun thing about this expanded format. SEC championship might not be there, but they have the bigger prize at hand. Beanie, by the way, with the whole Trinidad Chambliss jersey thing, have you even ever had anything similar or close to that happening while you played in Columbus?
No, not at all. That was a wild situation. I mean, you talk about a team breaking into a locker room to steal your stuff. I mean, and kudos to those guys for having cameras and being able to capture it, but nonetheless, never even heard anything like that happen before games.
It's a jersey worth taking, though, Tom, because Chambliss has been fantastic. Obviously, Austin Simmons started the year, but what a ride it's been so far for Lane riding Chambliss down the stretch.
Yeah, it's been an incredible story. He transferred from Ferris State, not exactly, the prime time, big time football program. He came to Ole Miss, and he came to be the backup, essentially, because everybody thought Austin Simmons would be the starter for this team. He was the highly rated recruit who came in, particularly to be Jackson Dart's replacement. And then Simmons got hurt after struggling a little bit to start the season. Trinidad Chambliss stepped in, and he just did not give the job back. He played far too well. He has been one of the best quarterbacks in the country. It's been a great season for him, and he's probably going to be on an all-SEC team. Maybe not first team, but a second or third. It's just been a fantastic year, and it's another success story for Lane Kiffin at the quarterback position. He just has a tendency to do well with these guys.
One more question before I let you go as we take a look at Lane Kiffin and what he's done in Ole Miss. Right up there with John Vaught, Billy Brewer, Beanie, I'm going to give you first word, and Tom, you follow, because with all the things that's happening and surrounding Lane Kiffin, there is talk that if he does end up taking a different job, he deserves to be in the college football playoff. What say you, Beanie?
I mean, they most certainly deserve it. I mean, Lane Kiffin, obviously, he's been the quarterback whisperer and the offensive guru that's gotten him to this point. But nonetheless, these kids went out there and played the game. They most certainly deserve. Yes, they'll be without one of the better coaches in college football if he does take another job. But nonetheless, they worked their tails off to get to this point. I don't think you penalize the kids in this situation from decisions made by coaches and other personnel, because these guys are out there working their tails off year-round to get an opportunity to be in the position that they're in right now. Why would you want to penalize them? And right now, I got to add on top of it, if you're Lane Kiffin, if you've shown that you can win at Ole Miss, why leave? Everything's right in front of you. You just look at the names he was just mentioned with, and some of the greatest coaches in that university history. Why not make your own history and make your own stamp and imprint on college football at Ole Miss?
Yeah, without a doubt, this team deserves to be in the college football playoff no matter what their coach does. The problem is, 2 years ago, Florida State deserved to be in the college football playoff too after going undefeated and winning the ACC. But once their quarterback got injured, the committee decided, we don't really need to see them in there. We'll put Alabama in there in their place. So I don't think it's quite the same thing as losing your starting quarterback as it is to lose your head coach. But based on what this committee has done in the past, we can't rule out the possibility that they will look at Ole Miss very differently if Lane Kiffin does leave, because Ole Miss probably will not let him stick around to coach the team if he decides to leave. Alabama certainly didn't let him do it under Nick Saban when Lane Kiffin was leaving to become the Florida Atlantic coach. We've seen this story before, so we can't rule out that they'll be left out. And the fact is, if they are left out, it's one of the bigger disappointments in college sports, and I think Lane Kiffin would probably harbor a lot of the blame for it.
Right after the game, if he's made up his mind on what he's doing, he said, quote, "No, I haven't. I've got a lot of praying to do to figure that out tomorrow." Tom, Feeney, guys, thanks for dropping on today. Talking about Ole Miss's big win over Hail State in the 122nd Egg Bowl. There's Lane Kiffin. Does he stay, like Feeney says, and build a powerhouse at Ole Miss, which he's done already for half a dozen years? Or does he go out somewhere? Florida now out of the mix, but LSU reportedly still very much in the mix. Let's take you out to Starkville, Mississippi. Lane Kiffin talking to the media.
So, what an awesome day. Just to watch our players at the end. And I told them last night, as you get older, and you get joy from others, especially your children, which players a lot of times are similar. And I just wanted them to get to 1-0 today. So just like every time we've been in the stadium, to watch them go over there to the fans with the Egg Bowl trophy and be able to celebrate that alone, just, winning the Egg Bowl. And then on top of that, for them to, win 11 regular season games. And we talked a lot about, Coach Carroll used to say, do things better than they were ever done before. And they just did that. No one in the entire state's ever had 11-win regular season. So that's pretty cool, especially the SEC's never been harder and deeper than it is now. So that's an amazing accomplishment by them. And, I know the storyline about distractions all week and stuff. And I would just say, and I'm going to say it during the week, we build our teams differently. So what you may think is distracting, as I understand our fan base or media, I don't think it is. And we train our guys from the beginning when we get them and build our teams to focus on what they can control and block out noise. And shoot, the last FAU, we play our last game there. That morning there's an announcement, that we're coming here, actually. And, we're in the conference championship that day, so all our players know next year, and we go out and win 49-6 in the game. So I think we just train our players that way. I wasn't concerned this week, and they've been doing it for a month, so I would say maybe what, we teach our players and our staff a lot of times, that what you think might be really bad might be good. And so maybe you should think the other way, that all that distraction and all the noise outside bonds them together because they know their team, their coach, their coaches, And so they don't worry about that stuff. And everybody says, well, they're going to be distracted. They're not going to play well, or they should want a different coach. I think bonds them together to stay focused and to play really well. And I'm not the coach for those. I know we got a lot of people here today, but ones that cover us, you know, if the field goal goes in at the end and you just win, some game or get some call by a ref, I'm not one to say that means you played extremely well that day. Our guys played well, whatever, probably 24, 10 or 13 run, once we get that last touchdown at the end of the first half. And if you're distracted, you don't have 0 negative plays the entire day on offense. Not one play, not a sack, not a turnover, not a negative run for a yard. That's players executing really well and doing great. So really happy for them. And it's a heck of an accomplishment. They did something that no one's ever done before. And they did it in a really good style today. They played clean football, kind of said at halftime, man, our programs are built different. We build players to execute and play really well. Like they say down locker, we want to make SportsCenter for making good plays, not try to make SportsCenter for starting fights. So, that was disappointing earlier in the game, but I was really proud of our players, how their players all left their bench, including their AD, and our players stayed on our bench, like they're coached to do. So play football. And they did that today.
Lane, you released that statement last week saying that there's going to be an announcement by tomorrow on the future. Have you made any sort of decision yet?
Yeah, I haven't. Maybe that surprised you. But I guess, I gotta do some praying and figure this thing out. I know today, I can get to that tomorrow. I live life about one day at a time. Maybe that doesn't help you, but I've learned to live that way for about 6 years now, 5 years, and that helps me. And so today is all about these players performing really well and keeping this Egg Bowl trophy where it belongs. And then, tonight I'm gonna go be a dad and watch a more important game to me and watch Knox playing the North Division or North State Championship versus Tupelo tonight. So Coach Cutcliffe, senior, he was on the sidelines last week at the game. He's the coach, in case you don't know. And he walked over. He's like, "Man, isn't this like harder than, more intense than being the head coach in the games?" I'm like, "No, it's not." But it's more enjoyable. So I'm excited for that tonight. I mean, what a Fisher Ray, one of our assistants, said a couple weeks ago, man, he's like, if this thing played out, man, you could be 11-1, win the Egg Bowl on the exact same day. If they kept winning, then Knox would be playing the North State Division or North State Championship. It's an awesome day. I mean, very fortunate to have a lot of really good things in my life. Thanks to God. I feel like I got it. Not as enjoyable as people probably think it is, but like Kirby says, when he wants to complain about being in the national championship and missing the portal window, it's like there's no crying from the yacht. So I'm not trying to get pity, but it's not as enjoyable as maybe some people would think. I think it's difficult no matter what. I think that there is a relief that we played like I thought I would. Like I thought they would today. I did think they would play like this, and but you never know. And so I am relieved for that, because if we didn't play well today, we all know what the storyline would be. It'd be my fault for having them distracted and stuff. So I'm really glad that we proved that narrative, which is a fair narrative for people to write. And I think a lot of our fans felt that way this week. Understandable, but they don't know our room and they don't know how we train them and how they think.
Lane, after the game at one point, it looked like you were admiring the Ole Miss crowd. How they were
Yeah.
What was going through your mind in that moment?
Just over the years, and then like, just really cool. That's, so what, third time we've been here? Third time emptying out their stadium, and then watching Matt Corral do it, in that game, and then Jackson Dart, and then watching Trinidad carry that trophy. I'm like, just, I said that when I said to him, you know, like, this is just gives me so much joy to see them be able to do something like this. And so to watch these guys come together, like they came from everywhere. I mean, I should probably know this, but I bet you on offense we don't have any players that play from the state of Mississippi. Think about that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think we have any. So that's a different story that you have to have in-state players to win. But think about that. So they came from all over the place to come together to do this, to win, and then bring joy to all the fans, which are from Mississippi, mostly, I assume. It's just a really cool story, and you can't get a better story than Trinidad. You guys in Division II playing in front of 500 people, you know. And today he goes for 359 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, no sacks, and some critical runs in a rivalry game that records don't mean anything when you go into them. They're not going to come out flat today. They never do. And so, you know, and they did a lot. They put zero out of them a ton of times, you know, and tried to hit the big plays, and other times they just held, as you saw. But Trinidad did some really good things today. Yeah, I think, you know, I understand you guys' job. I think things are fair. You know, like I say, when questions come, those are fair questions. Maybe I can answer them. Maybe I don't see them the same. You know, but when you call someone a hoe, you know, that's a different level of stuff, you know. Can't make hoes into housewives, you know, or something like that. That's about as bush league as stealing Trinidad's jersey like Mississippi State did last night. You know, luckily we had another one. But, so I ain't got any respect for that.
I don't either, but that wasn't the comment. You can't turn a hoe to a housewife, but it's not right. It's not calling you a hoe, it's about commitment. And that's what really the question is. You wanted the commitment from, not people was asking about where you're committed to, you're still not doing so. So you don't think there's anything wrong with getting upset about something so innocuous as that, paying attention after a win, especially in the Egg Bowl?
I'm not playing down to your game. I actually don't even know your name.
Like, what's the most difficult part of the decision? Is there one aspect of it that you labor over the most?
There's a lot into it, and I don't, you know, it's a hard decisions. You guys have them all the time. You got to make decisions about, you know, jobs you take and where you move and all those things. And again, we get paid a lot, so understands ours is, you know, under a different spotlight and scrutiny. But, you know, a lot of people that are critical of it are the same people that they do it all the time. They make decisions, and you know, they got to figure out the best things to do. In other professions, it's a little easier because you get to go to places, and you know, they bring you there, and you go for a weekend. You see all the schools and neighborhoods and all the stuff, and you make the decision. And, you know, our jobs are more difficult that way, but I'm not complaining about it. So.
Number of people that you rely on as you go through something like this. Said you're going to be that night.
Yeah. I do. You know, I miss my dad on this. You know, I really missed him this week. And so, you know, my 2 calls would be the closest to that from advice, what my dad would say to do on these things. And that would be Coach Carroll and Coach Saban. Kind of wish when you had things to do in life that your dad wasn't there, but or your dad was there. But this is what it is.
Lane, when the polls come out on Tuesday, do you think this team is deserving of a college football playoff host tonight?
Yeah, I would think absolutely. I mean, you go 11-1 in the SEC, and you know and I'm not politicking. I think that should be an obvious hosting the game. I think depending on what other games go, you're in a conversation of, are you even up there, even higher? So, yeah, I don't know how you wouldn't be hosting the game at minimum at 11-1, and you're one loss. You're ahead by a couple scores, right, going into the fourth quarter about at Georgia. Hard place to play. So I would certainly think that I wasn't even planning on politicking for it. I would think that would be a given. And shoot, we could have a whole different narrative here of, Texas and Auburn win their home games. Two really hard places to play, man. So maybe Texas wins today, and we're all watching the Iron Bowl, and we all know in Jordan Hare, magical things happen. So maybe Jordan Hare sends to the SEC championship. Maybe it's because in the past maybe we've got DJ Durkin and Nick some things, and then now maybe it's going to help us. We didn't think about that.
You said you got to make a decision tomorrow. Can you narrow it down for us in terms of time frame? Are you coming in the morning, in the afternoon, evening? What is in your mind in terms of time?
Yeah, very fair question. I don't know. Or maybe I should. I don't. Again, I know it may be crazy with all the attention on it. I'm happy for our players. I'm gonna go watch my son play. Layla already, she didn't understand that media. She already sent Cookie up here to say, can we get going? Tell him Lane's late. I'm like, well, we got to go do media. So.
Do you have any reason to believe you will be allowed?
That was Lane Kiffin after a decisive victory over Ole Miss's rivals in Starkville. And you're taking a look at the coaching carousel in the Power Four. You might have heard different times about a deadline. That is what Ole Miss Athletic Director Keith Carter had provided after he met with Lane Kiffin last week, and only heightened by today's game. And you did hear a reporter say, can we say in the morning, afternoon? And Kiffin would not say exactly when that decision would come.
Well, it was a big win for Ole Miss over their rivals, Mississippi State, as they win the Egg Bowl 38-19. But nobody was really locked into the game, were they? Everybody is wondering where the Lane train will make its stop next. Of course, we had a chance to hear from Lane after the game. He is still pushing that decision off for a little bit longer. But there's some speculation about where he's going to coach. Is he staying? Is he going? Only time will tell. We will stay patient, but in the meantime, let's check in with our czar of the playbook, Emory Hunt, looking a little dapper today on this Friday. Emory, obviously we've been following this Lane story from the beginning. What'd you make of his post-game comments and the future of Lane Kiffin?
It's more of what I expect from Lane Kiffin, a guy that loves the spotlight, loves the drama, loves the story. And I feel like the reason why he's been a little bit non-committal on where he wants to go and where he's going to decide to stay is you have two major recruiting deadlines coming up. You have the first signing day coming up in next week, and then you have the open portal date in January, next button up against another signing day in February, the traditional one. So for me, it's about, okay, if he's truly going to stay, he has to make a decision pretty quickly. I feel like he's staying at Ole Miss because of the ties to recruiting that is coming up against the calendar. So, if you're Ole Miss, I understand why they gave that deadline, like, hey, you got to do what or get off the pot. And so, because this is just drawn out, and I feel like he's going to end up residing more so in Oxford than anything.
I personally feel like the Ole Miss Lane Kiffin fit is a good one. And to your point, it almost feels like the Rebels program has made this a little bit more difficult on him as the season has gone on. He even talked about it in that postgame. He said, number one, where they're at in terms of the recruiting cycle and being potentially in the college football playoff is not as fun as you think. But he also pointed to an 11-win season in the SEC and how big of an accomplishment that has been for his team. How difficult do you think the season and the success that he's already had with Ole Miss, how much more difficult is it making this decision for him, you think?
That's a great question, Haley. I feel like that in and of itself is making it more difficult for him to leave, because despite what he is experiencing right now at Ole Miss, with the winning, with the college football playoff that they're probably going to end up being in. Now, imagine that times a billion at LSU or at any other high-profile, high-stakes program. No one is caring that Ole Miss is on the precipice of going to the the college football playoff for the first time in program history. Their first 11-win season for the first time, I believe, in program history. So imagine that. That's the expectation at an LSU or at a high-profile program. And we know what Lane Kiffin does or doesn't do with expectations. So if you're Lane Kiffin, why would you leave Oxford where you can do great things and people are appreciative of it and they love you there, but you go to LSU and you don't win 11 games by week 2, or you go somewhere else, you don't win a national championship by the 4th quarter of the first game, you're going to be out of there. So I think he stays here. I think Ole Miss appreciates him, gives him what he needs, and as evident by what we've seen Ole Miss do this season, they're great on offense, they're great on defense. They've been able to get great talent in there, whether it's high school talent, whether it's from the transfer portal. They develop well. We've seen a number of guys under Lane Kiffin go and play really well at the National Football League level. So he has everything that he needs and everything that he could potentially want right there in Oxford.
And they love him there as well, too. So it'll be interesting to follow. He's not really on a timeline, he said after the game, but I am sure, to your point, Ole Miss is on a timeline as well. Emory thinks Lane Kiffin is staying put. We will have to continue to wait and see. Emory, always a good time checking in with you, my friend, hanging out at our Connecticut station, so you can catch Emory on HQ for the rest of the night as well. In the meantime, take a look at the most wins by an Ole Miss head coach in school history. Ole Miss